Okay. My name is Jessica Pullig. I'm a director of operations for a millionaire real estate agent designated team out of Colorado Springs. I've been in this business for 4 years, and this is Mastermind number 6, where we get together and we talk about the systems, the programs, the implementation. How do we do the things that lead to all the bright, shiny ideas and the lead generation and the relationships and the conversations? This is a lot more of approaching it nuts and bolts. What do we need to actually do the do and do the how every single day? If you have an Otterbot or a note taker, or you have an embedded recorder that normally pops on for you, you'll notice that I've denied all of those. I record everything. It goes on our YouTube channel. Because you are here and you are attending, you will get the replay via email first. It will then go up on the YouTube channel so that you can watch it whenever you want to watch it. And then it will end up on our Facebook community, and you can watch it there. So we do provide that to you, but I don't have copies and multiple things out floating around. I control all the copies. So if that got denied, that's why that got denied. Today, we are going to be talking about, I know I listed it as programs, but kind of the more I talked about it, it's software and tech. The things that we use to do our stuff. So basically anything that's not your database, not your CRM. So this is email marketing, this is calendars, this is scheduling appointments, this is fast tracking forms, and just all of those kinds of various different things. So my masterminds are always collaborative. You will talk, you will contribute, you will interact with me, or I will sit here in silence. I am a high D personality. I have no problem being it my way or the highway, and I can sit here and be quiet for a while. So definitely get ready to kind of share either out loud or in the chat. But first things first, if you guys can drop in the chat, or you can raise your hand and come off mute if you want to actually talk. Can you tell me something that you're using right now that you like using, or that you are using or know using, and something you want to know more about? So like, say I'm using MailChimp for newsletters, but I want to know more about Google Forms, or I'm using Google Sheets, but I want to know more about, a task management software, just to kind of get a feel for what everybody needs out of this conversation.
I'm not using MailChimp, but I'd like to do it.
Okay. So are you sending any email marketing at all?
Yes.
And then, so what are you utilizing to send your email marketing?
We're using Command, which makes it a problem, right?
Their Command campaigns have a little bit of of headaches to them. You're in a pinch, and if you're already paying for Command, they're definitely something you can utilize, but they are not my favorite. There are other ways to achieve the same output that I like to use. So I have one person. Duke spoke out loud, and Reggie put it in the thing. So if you don't have a program that you're using, that's fine. If there is a program you want to know more about, if there was something on the description for this, or something on one of my posts that was like, hey, I need to be there, I need to talk about that, drop it in the chat, shoot it at me. What is it you want to talk about? Because if I just went through a list of all of my favorite programs, we'd be here for 6 weeks, because I have a long list of them. So I want to make sure it's tailored to things that you want to know about. So yes, Mandy, I have a hub. It's my favorite thing. It's Google Sites. I am a hardcore Google girl. I live almost entirely in Google. So I will definitely mention that. That is a whole course unto itself, which is why I'm hosting a course on it in March. So I've got MailChimp and Command, other options. Yeah, I agree. Command has its limitations. And then Microsoft 360 and Asana. Yes, so I've got some things that I've used those before, and we'll pivot over. So, and now why is my phone going off? Okay. I didn't put it in do not disturb. There's lesson number 1. Put things in do not disturb if you don't want to get distracted. So it seems like a lot of you have kind of mentioned email marketing, so I'm going to start there. It's an easy way to step into that. Command will do it. Your CRM has to have some way to send emails on your behalf within your system that stays TCPA compliant. I have found with Command that The pros are if your database is organized, it is unbelievably easy to get a very small scope of audience. You get very, very granular with who you want to send that to. So you can target your messaging and your marketing, but then it's a little less user-friendly if you're trying to import a template or a Canva design, or if you're trying to make sure that your links lodge on it, you can click on the links. I don't think it's very helpful as far as like the aesthetics, the pretty. Like if you want to click on the button and have the button be your link, Command doesn't do that as readily. The templates are a lot more clunky to work with. And then there for a while, it kind of closed down on being able to embed sites and URLs. And I know that they've opened that back up, but not to the full capability that we utilize when we send our newsletters. So there are a lot of options out there. My two favorite for email marketing are Flowdesk and MailChimp. What I like about Flowdesk is that you're not paying per seat or paying. So like in MailChimp, you have to pay for an audience size or to be able to segment your audiences. Flowdesk, you don't pay for however many people on your distro. You can have as many people on your distro as you want. And there's a lot more ability to design templates and aesthetics to get a look and a feel that you want. It doesn't integrate with Command, which is why we don't use Flowdesk. There's no easy way without doing it by hand or using Zapier to basically take your data from one database into a Google Sheet and one Google Sheet into your email marketing. It's just not as user-friendly to get the names from your database into your newsletter. So we use MailChimp because right now Command has a API coding add-on that will automatically send them from our database to MailChimp. And then we can use in MailChimp the ability to put in Canva templates. We use a lot of Canva for our graphic medias, but you can put in the template, you can standardize the template, you can copy a template that's working and then just reassign things. You can block stuff out. It's very visual. So you don't have to know that much about coding. You're just like, I want a text block, I want a spacer, I want an image, I want a button, and then you link all of that up. So it's a lot easier to, sorry, I got people in the waiting room, making sure they're admitted. It's a lot easier, user-friendly to see and create those pieces and then link those pieces up. There are ways in MailChimp to segment your audience. So like we have our split between who's a past client and who's a prospective client. We don't leverage that right now because we use primarily MailChimp for our newsletters, and everybody, like literally if your email is in a database and you're our database and you are not an agent, you are on our newsletter list. So we don't need to segment how you got there or what you are, but MailChimp has the ability to do that through tags. I just haven't gone through because we have at any given time, we have 15 to 1600 people in our MailChimp database. And so I'm not going to go through and figure out where all of them came from and all that stuff. And I just have them in there and they're working. So any questions about like how to get it from your database to MailChimp, or what kind of email marketing, or just those kinds of platforms to send out marketing to your clients and your perspectives? Nope, I got crickets. Nobody has any questions about email marketing. Go for it.
As I mentioned in the chat, my Rainmaker has it and uses it. So it's just a matter of her teaching me. So I would love for you to talk about it, but I don't want to waste everybody else's time. I'm just going to tell her, hey, Jessica told me that you had to teach it to me.
That'll work. And because I learn differently than my Rainmaker. So I'm a high D, I'm tactile kinesthetic. I have to be told what I'm doing. I have to be able to get in there and do it. I have to like type, I have to write, I have to do the things. Whereas my Rainmaker is a high I and he is audio. And so he can listen to somebody who's very peppy, tell him what he needs to be doing. And he's like, cool, got it, I'll go do it. You do that to me and I'm like, I am deer in the headlights lost. So I spend a lot of my time on Google or in other communities and being like, okay, I need it to do this. How do I get it to do this? I use a lot of AI, like, hey, I want it to do this. Can you tell me how to do this, or at least point me to the right website? So don't overlook utilizing and leveraging your resources. Google is great. Operations,
Google is your friend.
shooting me an email, you're like, hey, it doesn't do this. How do I do this? Or hey, I'm stuck on this. Usually finding other people who are doing the same job you're doing and networking with them also works on that aspect. Any other questions about kind of email marketing? So like I said, you can do it in Command. It's done via campaign. You'll set up the audience, you'll set up the messaging, you'll set up when it will send. And you can do that and build out every single newsletter, and you can schedule send. So you can batch things for, like, if you, our marketing coordinator has all of our newsletters done 30 to 45 days in advance. So all of our stuff through the end of March is already created and is sitting there, and it's just waiting for the date that it's supposed to send out. So definitely use your schedule send. You don't have to do everything in the moment in real time. And Command should be set up kind of the same way. MailChimp works in the same way. Flowdesk works in the same way. My biggest recommendation is find the one that works the best with your database, that connects with your database, so that you are not wasting your time figuring out how to, I put this person in my database. I want to make sure they end up on my newsletter distro list. Because if it's out a third-party software, it's that connection piece of how do I get them from Command or from my CRM to my email list in my third-party piece. And there are connections that will do that for you. They may have a cost associated with them, or you may be able to utilize or leverage, if you've got a VA or a cyberbacker or an assistant, the whole moving them from point A to point B, in which case you just need a system or a tag or some kind of communication trigger. But that is the piece that I always identify. How easy can I get the people I want on my newsletter distro onto my newsletter distro? Because that influences which third-party software I use for my email marketing. Okay. Yes,
Jessica,
Kelly, you have a question.
I do. So you may have talked about this in the first 9 minutes of the call, but
that's
I
fine.
missed. You use MailChimp instead of Command. Is it
Correct.
because Command's been really weird with the embedded stuff? Like I used to have.
One of the, yes. So Command has a lot of limitations. I'll rewind just a little bit. So there's some other people that dropped in. The absolute best thing that Command Campaigns does is allows you to be very, very granular with picking who gets the messaging. So it's a great marketing tool to get targeted messaging in the hands of the right people, because you know your database. You can filter, sort, you can make smaller lists. What I found is it is not very user friendly in getting a design that meets our brand and our aesthetic. It doesn't integrate with dropping in a lot of Canva media. I don't get the fancy pretty buttons that are easy to click on. And then there for a while, you couldn't send anything with a link. And our whole client touch program works off of redirects from our domain, and works off of Google Forms, and works off of like sending them to go do this on this website, or tying into our social media. And so not being able to link to outside URLs was a very big hamstring in Command email campaigns. And basically we tried to use it. It didn't work. And so we pivoted everything. We were already using part Command, part MailChimp. We pivoted everything to MailChimp because it's consistent and reliable for me to convey what I need to convey.
Is it way expensive or not way expensive?
So it falls within our budget. I think we're on the second tier. So I have two audiences, and because I have referral agents and I have clients. So I have two audiences and I carry about 1,500 contacts. So on MailChimp, you pay by how many contacts you have. So you pay by an audience chunk. I don't like that feature, but MailChimp is the only one I have found that is very easy to integrate with Command to be able to send the people from the database to the distro list.
Right.
I love Flowdesk. I love the Flowdesk price point. I love their aesthetic. I love how easy it is to use. But right now there is no integration party between Flowdesk and Command. So I'm saving money on the actual email campaign product, but I would be spending money on the time it takes to get them into the distro list. So it's where you want to put your budget spend.
That works. Thank you for that.
So any other questions about email marketing type things? No.
Have you found whether there's a certain number of touches that are too much and you get unsubscribed?
Oh, no. So I always love that question. And my mom was like, bless your heart, no. Like literally, I don't know how many, I work for Tulio. I'm Tulio and the Pena team's DO. He gave a famous talk 2 weeks ago at Inspire about no. And so our whole operation is until they literally tell us to stop emailing them or stop calling them, they don't ever come off of our follow-up plan. And our follow-up plan is 200 plus touches a year. That's
Got it.
emails, phone calls, postcards, client events, everything like that. And of that 200, about 40 to 50 of them are phone calls by the agent. Most of those are around client events. Every single other touch is automated on behalf of the agents by our operations department.
Okay.
But no, like if everything is working correctly and we have a phone number, an email, and an address, our households hear from us every 3 to 4 days. They're getting something from us, so they can't
Oh
forget.
my
who the heck they are.
gosh. Okay.
When you have 200 touches in 365 days, that's what ends up happening.
Woo. That's
So-
a blunt. I love it.
But no, literally, we've never had anybody say that. We've had people who are like, I haven't responded to anything in 3 years, but I get everything you send us. And like, we've never come to an event. We've never reached out to you, but hey, I need to sell my house. Can you come see me next week? And that's just because we constantly send them value. Okay, I'm gonna pivot then away from email marketing. Who utilizes something other than the Google Suite for things like your calendars, your emails, your spreadsheets, your documents, your storage? So if you're not a Google fan club member, what are you using if it's not Google?
I combine Google Calendar and my Mac calendar because I'm an Apple person that uses Google. I know. And also
So
because
am I.
it's on my phone, so yeah, I usually combine the two.
So I'm a hardcore Zennial. My printer is my favorite inanimate object in my house. I have to have my printer. I have to have things printed out. I completely get you because I don't have a desktop anymore, but I have a laptop system set up like a desktop. I don't like Macs. I'm a PC girl. I live in the land of I would take Microsoft Excel all day, every day, but I live in the land of everything here is Google. So it's Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Forms, all the Google, but I live with iPads and iPhones. And so my iPhone has everything Google all the way down to I've deleted Apple Maps and I put on Google Maps. So I'm literally I like very specific things and I get them all to marry and merge together.
Yep.
So we operate in Google Workspace. So a lot of my experience, a lot of my building, a lot of my programs, I'll default to using the Google equivalent. There are other equivalents that will do the same thing as Google. I'm more than willing to talk about them and kind of see what the comparisons and compatibility would be. But most of what I talk about as far as execution in a suite of Office systems is going to be Google because that's what we've been in for 3 years. So all of our stuff is stored on a Google Drive. All of our agents use Google Docs and Google Sheets, and we use Google Forms, and we all have Google-based emails. So we have a domain. So all our emails are domain-based, but our domain is trenched in Google. So it's all accessed through the Gmail platform and the Google Calendar platform, even though it's associated with our domain. So at thepenateam.com, but it's all Google-based. And then I've had to go for my Rainmaker is a Mac and Apple user. And so I've had to go in and be like, okay, do you want this showing up in your little iPhone calendar or do you want it to show up in just the Google Calendar? And we have found for him personally, using the Google app to manage the Google Calendar means he only sees his work stuff in one spot and he doesn't get overwhelmed with work and personal and every other calendar that's ever been shared with him and the 16 other emails he has attached to his phone. So to each your own. But as far as Google Suites, and then we'll talk comparable options outside of Google, does anybody have questions about how to use Google Sheets or Google Forms or what we're leveraging as far as any of that, any Google things that help you do your daily business?
I
I
have a
want
question.
I want
Okay.
a 3-hour section on how to do all the things. I will pay
So,
money.
I did mention at the top that Google Sites, which is kind of a jump off point from this Google, is something I'm super passionate about. We call ours the Hub. I absolutely love it. I have a workshop coming, Kelly. It launches in March. That will be a 1 hour per week, 4-week class. And you walk away with a fully functioning Google site at the end of it. So we will be doing that. That is kind of like an internal team intranet. But anything beyond that, Google Sheets, Google Forms, anything like that. Reggie, you're gonna go first, and then I'll come to you in a second. Okay, Kelly?
I I save everything in the drive and everything in command. Obviously, I want to get paid, so it's in command. Um, but that's very time consuming going from one to the other. And I didn't know if you had any hints or anything on how to make that quicker.
So when you say you save everything, are you referring to your compliance documents?
Correct. All
Okay.
the transaction, documents. Yes.
Yep. So what we end up doing is we run our compliance documents, our e-contract system is CTME. And so we run our documents in that. So that's like your DocuSign or your .loop, wherever you keep your stuff for e-signature. We run it there, and then we put it into command for compliance so that we clear it with the office. We can get our disbursement authorizations. Everybody gets paid. And then what I do at that point is our transaction coordinator basically downloads and compresses files, the entire file from CTME or from command. And then that's when we put it on our drive. So I don't have it, I have it in 2 places, but I don't make it a 3rd place redundancy until the contract is done, because then I don't have to constantly invert. Did this piece get in there? Did this piece not get in there? Is this a complete file? And so I leave it in our document management software, and I'll leave it in compliance, and then I move it to the drive when it's fully officially closed. And I also compress it so I'm not paying for as much drive storage.
Well, there's not, everything isn't in, we use Form Simplicity for
Okay.
signatures.
Yep.
And not everything is in there. Because if we create the document first, then when it's signed by the other side, that's not going to be in Form Simplicity. Because that, we don't send it to the other side. We email it and then they do their thing as far as signatures. So I get, waiting till the end basically of saving it all. But my situation is I find it much easier and quicker if I need a document to go to the drive than I do going to command, especially, on my phone if I need to do something. So I just didn't know if there was any other way, because that's been the suggestion, but I'm like,
Yeah, well, and it all just depends on, so I come from the perspective that my entire life is file management. If you think about everything you do is file management. So
Yeah.
where does the laundry go in your dresser? That's file management. Which drawer is your jeans, which drawer is your PJs kind of thing. That's file management. And so it's how do you need to structure it for you so that it works for you and is not time consuming, but you still have a feeling that you know where everything is. And that is going to be a highly personable thing. And so the only hack that you might want to consider is if you are using Google Drive as your storage, do you use, Mac should have an equivalent. I know Windows does, but I have mapped my Google Drive to my computer, like an app. And so then I can attach to emails and I can attach to things directly without having to download it off the drive, off the internet, and then upload it again in the other place. I can move it much more frequently. Because again, it's like opening a file explorer folder. And then I can just move or copy or move things around because it treats the drive, even though it's out on the cloud, out on the internet, like it's a folder on my computer. And so you
How do
might
you
want
do
to look into Google Drive Desktop. If you Google that, there should be instructions for how to download it on Mac. And I know they have it on Windows. You can only have one drive attached that way at a time. So I had to take my personal drive off my computer and map it to my work drive so that I was able to attach things out of that. But that ended up working out for me. And it saves me so much I have to go find it. I have to download it. then I have to get it to the email, then I have to upload it, and all of a sudden I've got it, it's like, oh, I don't need it in my downloads anymore. And so I delete it, and then my recycling bin gets full. So it's file management. It's how many times you want to click on it. And you just may need to play with the pathways a couple of times and figure out if there is redundant instances of files that you don't necessarily need, or certain places that make it easier to keep track of that information.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What you got, Kelly?
But is it beneficial just for somebody with a team, or is it beneficial for a single agent or somebody with a VA?
Is what beneficial?
The training that you're gonna do on the hub.
Oh, on the Google site?
Mhm.
So if you, as the real estate agent, interface with anybody outside of just yourself. So if you have a TC, or you have a VA, or you have a showing assistant, if you have ever had somebody ask you, where is this? Where do I put this? How do I do this? The hub can work for you. You may have a much simpler, smaller version of it. But what the hub essentially is a visual dashboard of your Google Drive, of your storage drive. And so it's a picture, it's a website, and then you go out to it, you get to create it. It's just like building an email marketing template in Canva. But we use ours for my agents. Were like, hey, I need to tell the transaction coordinator I want her to contract. What do I do? And I'm like, you hit the button and you fill out the form and you tell the TC you went under contract, she'll open your file for you. Or they're like hitting me on Saturday and Sunday, hey, I'm need to do an open house next week. How do I get my marketing? Like, you hit the button, you fill out the open house request, it sends it to the marketing assistant and she handles it. Or they're like, hey, I don't remember what website we used for this, or I don't remember the details on the client event. It's like, I don't answer my phone after 3 o'clock on a Friday until like 8:30 on Monday morning. And so if you've ever been asked something and you're like, you can go find the answer yourself, I send them to the hub. So the hub is like, it's a training library, it's a dashboard, it's a go here and do this kind of thing. And so yes, in that answer, it would be beneficial. Yours just may not be nearly as robust or connected as ours is. But that's what I love about it, is you don't have to know how to code. You literally have to know how to copy and paste and match things up. And then if you are inclined and you have a brand or a palette, you can make it pretty. So ours is all the colors of our logos and stuff like that, but it didn't start that way. So
Thank you.
to answer your question, Cindy, it is coming. There will be an information on it in the recap email. I'm launching it in March. Because we are actually going to be, so the first, it's a workshop. So the first half of the day, the first 30 minutes is going to be like what needs to happen, how it needs to be set up, walking you through the pieces, how does it work? And then the second 30 minutes, we're all on Zoom together. You're building your site according to what we learned that day. And I'm troubleshooting anything that you get stuck on. And we'll do that for 4 days in a row. And so it'll be 4 weeks. I've got to figure out what day we're going to start, because I just found out I am solo parenting over spring break. So I'm not going to try and start teaching that over spring break because my husband's going to be in Korea. So once I get that start date, it'll roll out. And then because it is an implementation based, it will be very small, limited engagements. So no more than 6 or 8 people each workshop, but that'll start rolling out. You will get contact information. You will get contact information. You will get details and information on that in either the community or any of these recap emails. So, pivoting from there, who uses Google Sheets? Who needs to have a spreadsheet for something, and who uses Google Sheets or Excel or the equivalent?
I use Google Sheets.
Okay. What do you use your Google Sheets for? Like, what are 1 or 2 things that you use it for in your day-to-day real estate business?
I have an activity spreadsheet, which basically puts all, it has the address, the name, the title, the lender, the gross commission amount. And then I have the documents listed. And then I put either yes or no, like yes, if it's done, or sent if I'm waiting for it to come back. And it's just a quick way for me to just click and see where we are in the process without having to necessarily pull up emails or anything like that. I mean, and I use it for other things, but that, I use it a lot. Unfortunately, my Rainmaker likes Excel, but I'm teaching her.
So, well, and you can always be like me. I like Excel. So I can build it so much faster in Excel. So I'll build it in Excel and then I'll upload it to our Google Drive. It converts it to a Google Sheet and then we just use it as a Google Sheet. And so, and then whenever I have to download it, because I want to do something in Excel that I know how to do that I don't want to have to Google how to do in Google Sheets. I just download it as an Excel, fix it, and then re-upload it
And are
again,
easily seduced.
put it back. So, what?
God does not check.
Said it so fast. So yeah, a transaction tracker. I have the same thing. I have, you know, it's my snapshots because I coordinate a listing coordinator, a marketing coordinator, a transaction coordinator, and 5 agents. And so it is my one-stop dashboard of what do we have under contract? When is it closing? What is the commission breakouts and compensation? Because I'm the one that orders the CDAs from compliance. And then it has information keyed into it for like the opportunity and the DA, because whenever I talk to the office, they want to know what the DA and the opportunity is so they can figure out. I mean, our office has 175 agents. If I'm constantly hitting them up for stuff, they kind of need to know who we're talking about. It's got a section in there that the bookkeeper and I work on to make sure that we have our P&Ls and everything accurate and correct. And then a couple of the other tabs, it's got who's under agency. So what buyers do we have? Are they active? Are they waiting to be looking? Who are they working with? Because again, we have more than one agent. I also have on there our listings. When are the listings going live? Are they live? When was the last price adjustment? What is some of the particulars out of the agencies? So like when it's a listing, what is the listing agent and the broker agent compensation for our contract? What are the expiration dates of our contracts? We charge admin fees. So it's what are the is the client paying the admin fee? Is the agent paying the admin fee? So that's kind of our big, huge Google Sheet that keeps everything. We also use Google Sheets for our client events when they RSVP to the client event. One of my favorite things about Google Forms is you can have it put all the responses into a Google Sheet. And so then you don't have to try and read the Google Form response background where it's like, well, which name goes with which number and which question did they answer? You put it into a Google Sheet and it gives it all to you as a line item. My favorite piece of that is our cyberbacker checks all of our RSVPs against our command and checks the name, checks the email, checks the phone number, checks the mailing address. Can't tell you how much data mining and updating and filling out the contact card we've been able to do because they've given us all that contact information based on wanting to come to the event. And so then we can augment that, but it's in the sheet. And so you can import, you can sort, you can pull it up that way. I love converting the Google form responses to sheets, and that's just one extra click and step in the back end of a Google form. So, no, we are not only using forms for Google events. That's where we started. So we create a Google form that RSVPs for our client events. Google Forms, you share a link that's got like a whole bunch of nonsense numbers that they can click on. We use our domain and then we do a 401 redirect off of our domain. And so when they go to that link or so like pinyateam.com/pizza night will take them straight to the Google form. And so they don't see all this unbranded stuff. We push them back to our website and our website pushes them to the Google form directly with a redirect rather than a landing page. So we started by using Google Forms for that, but I love a Google form. There's so many cool things to do with it. My absolute favorite right now is when we go under contract. My agents have been trained that they fill out a Google form. So it doesn't matter if it was 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. If they've gone under contract, they fill out the Google forms. The Google form pulls all of the information, all the large scale information off the contract. They fill it out. They provide all the contact information and everything like that. It registers that it's under contract. That is the trigger. There's an add-on. It's called Google Email Notifications. It's an add-on that you add to the Google form. And when it's submitted, it will take all of that information, it PDFs it, and it will email it to your person of choosing. So every time the agent fills the form out to tell us they went under contract, I get a copy of it so I can put it on the transaction tracker. The transaction coordinator gets a copy of it so they can open the file and start the transaction. And our marketing person gets a copy of it so that they can do the under contract or, you know, welcome home marketing for having gotten one of our clients under contract. And so we use it internally for a lot of things too. So there's a lot of stuff flying in the chat. So if I haven't answered your question, you dropped it in the chat, take a minute, come off of mute, ask me those questions, because if I scroll back through and read all the things, I'm going to get distracted and lost. So if you ask me something I did not talk about, or if what I was talking about spurred a question, raise your hand and I'll answer some questions. What you got, Kelly?
Okay, so mine is, I need a class on Google Forms. I just need all the classes. And then you're talking about all these things you can do with your website. So I know that recently I did my aspiregroup.kw.com and I did a backslash and then my open house on my site, and it collected all my open house visitors. So I actually did that. Wow. But I don't know how to use form. I mean, y'all, I don't know how to do any of this. None of it. I'm 57. I don't know how to do any of this. Like, all of these things are fantastic, and I wish I'd known about them 20 years ago when I started.
So, to answer your basic question, we do not at this time leverage our KW website. We have had a domain, for what, 6-7 years, basically since the inception of the team. We host our domain on Wix. It's a standalone website. So our actual website actually doesn't have any IDX or home search on it. So that's something I'm looking into figuring out how to merge the two, because up until recently, Command was not very favorable with what the website would do or what you could customize it to do. It's a lot better now than it used to be. And because we're teams, Command teams always lags in the cool tech after Command solo agents. So we have our own website. It's got excellent SEO because it's been around for 7 years and we've run so many events through it and we've had hits on it. We run a blog series on it and we make sure that it's connected in with our social media and our YouTube and our email newsletters. It's got great SEO. We come up in Google searches. And so I don't want to port it over to Keller Williams to get the IDX compatibility when we're getting organic people interacting through the website on that end. But so the redirect I was talking about is something I know how to do within Wix, where it's basically like, take this web address and instead send them here when they put it in. I don't know whether or not a KW based email has that ability within the command system. KW Answers is a phenomenal place to start and see whether or not that's a possibility. And then any of your command your conversion or your market center or regional tech trainer may also know the answer. I'm all about knowing who to talk to if I don't know the answer. It's leveraging your resources. So what form is it that you want, Mandy? I've talked about a lot of forms. Which one are you talking about?
The one where the agent fills it out and then when it goes under contract. So you have all those
Yes.
details. That'd be amazing. Because I think that's a good place to start organizing kind of this process. Is
So-
getting the agents to use that.
Yes. What I will do is, I'll make a note here. I will take screenshots of that form. So the thing with Google Forms is you have to remember there's two sides. When you create the Google form, the backend that's editable is, the one where you can create the questions and route the things and where does it go next and what kind of questions is it. But that's not what your client or your customer or the person who's interacting in the form sees. There's another website, there's another web link that you share, then that's the one that is the preview version where they can just fill it in and submit the form. And so when you're using forms, you have to remember to grab the correct website. You have to use the share button and use the share link and not grab the link up in the web browser because you'll give them edit access to your form. That doesn't work. And then because it's Google based and it's in a Google environment, the people who can edit the form and create the form are permission based. And so I can't just send you my form because that would be giving you permission to edit that form. So what I can do is I can send you the link to kind of see, but the easiest thing to do is to just give you screenshots of the walkthrough sections so that you can see what the content is, and then I will, we just updated it. So now the first sheet's all about our clients. Like what client went under contract? Are they buyers or sellers? And then based on the answers, it either takes you down the buyer chute or it takes you down the seller chute and asks you about the actual transaction and the property. And then it brings everybody back together at the end to talk about title. And so I will give you all of the screenshots, all those questions, and then I will make a note about what it looks like. I'll probably do a screen record because it's easier for me to show you how, if you answered this, like if you select this radio button, it goes to this section versus if you select this radio button, it goes to this section. Because the agents don't need to tell me seller information if it's a buyer. And they don't need to tell me buyer information if it's a seller. So it's streamlining it so that my agents don't feel like they're answering 60 minutes worth of questions when they only need to answer 15. So I will make sure as part of the resources with this class that there's PDF screenshots of what our form looks like. And then there is a Loom or a Zoom walkthrough for how I link it up in the back end.
Thank you.
So, yes.
Thank you. That'll be
But
awesome.
you can use forms for any thing like that. Like we just outsourced our listing coordination, and it's an intake form. Anything that you do on an intake form, or it's the same repetitive that you need all the information in one spot, can be done on a Google form. So anytime you're trying to gather standardized information for a repetitive task, you can use a Google form to collect that information. So don't overlook the power of those. And if you have a Gmail or you have anything Google based, they're free. So use the free resources. So anything else about Google Forms, Google Sheets, or anything like that? I got about 15 minutes. I've kind of been moving through. Is there any program you want to talk about that you haven't talked about? I know that there was a mention, somebody asked about Asana, somebody asked about Monday.com. Who here uses any kind of task management software? Like keeping track of, if you are overseeing other people and you need to know who's working on what, or whether or not they've completed it, or what the timeline is, who is using some kind of task management system? Who needs a task management system? So, Kelly, did you raise your hand that you are using one?
I can't get, yes, I'm using Asana.
You're using Asana?
Mhm.
I've worked on Asana before. So I'm an engineer by trade. I come by, like, project management is my favorite thing to do. What is the timeline? What is the critical path? Who's working on what lane are you in? It's very well defined. I love all of that kind of software. I found that for our team, personally, it was too robust.
Mm.
Everybody was so like, I can do all of these things, and I can tell everybody's like, I don't need like every little task to be done itemized by date and by person. Like I have much bigger pictures. Like this is your lane. Like what do you need to do? What do you need to do? So I live in the, if I'm delegating it, then I put it in the task management. But if I'm not delegating it, then I don't necessarily have it all broken down. Or if they're not delegating it, it's like, if you want to make yourself your own to-do list. But I found that they got lost in all that it could do. And then they spent all their time making to-do lists rather than actually doing their to-do lists.
Mhm.
So it works if you've got a large operations staff, or if you're managing a lot of things, having a robust system works. Asana is good. I think they have a free or a trial version or a smaller version. I know Monday.com has a trial version if you want to get your feet wet. It kind of works the same way. I like their task dashboards. They're all very visual. I will give them that credit. We are in a period of revision and revamping. We downsized our team size at the end of last year, and I am watching every single penny. We redid our budget. And what I have found is, because we are so systematized, I don't have to tell you how to do the system. I just have to tell you what system you're accessing and who's being processed through that system. So we got rid of Monday.com and instead switched over to Google Tasks. And so we run all of that through Google Tasks, because it allows me to just basically say, this is what you're going to go and do. Here's the link to the system. Here's the link to the hub. Here's the piece that you're using. Here's who's in charge of it. And here's what day it's due on. And then they can communicate back, because Google Tasks is a subset of Google Chat. And so they can communicate back and forth about the task and about completing the task or ask questions. So as far as delegating tasks out to operations, I use Google Tasks instead of Monday.com. And then our agents don't even know any of that exists. All of our agents' tasks are through our CRM. So they log into the CRM, they get their task list, they do what's on their task list there. And I build all of those out through Smart Plans, so that I don't have to sit there and figure out what phone call we're on for 1,500 people individually. So does
Are you
anybody?
gonna cover Google Tasks in your training that's coming up in March or something similar?
So my workshop in March is 100% Google site. It's building the hub, but I can definitely, it's sounding like a deep dive with some like me screen sharing, kind of how we've got set up on some of this Google stuff would be beneficial. I may pivot that to next month's mastermind, because we're down to about 10 minutes today. But yeah, we can go over like Google Tasks and Google Chat and Google Forms and kind of syncing all of it together to build a workspace suite. Who here utilizes something like WhatsApp or Slack or some alternate communication channel, or does it all by text message when you're communicating within your team? Yes. How effective is that working for you guys?
I use Slide
yeah.
Broadcast.
Oh, okay, hold on. Kelly, go first. What do you use?
I use Slack. I like it. Oh, there's two Kellys. I'm sorry.
Oh,
but
no,
I
I'm
use-
sorry. Okay. Kelly Vincent, what do you use?
I use Slide Broadcast, and so I make it sound like I have just called individually to them and give
Okay.
them the information and say, basically, sorry, I missed you. Looking forward to hearing from you. Call me back at this.
Okay, so that's to talk to your clients for your lead generation. If you are talking, so like you have Hannah, right? Hannah is your right hand. So if you are working with Hannah on what needs to be done or where you're at or what the next piece is, how do you communicate with Hannah?
I don't. I do.
I bet Hannah loves that.
I feel so sad for her. Like, I tried to fire her because I was like, I don't know how to lead you. And so you just need to go and find a boss who does know how to do that. And she's like, just let me do it. I'm like, I'm sorry. And she's like, no, this is what you need. You are, y'all, squirrel, like number 17 in my board. And I am like, whoa. I am squirrel.
So the other Kelly, is it Pew or Pow, or how do you say your last name?
Oh, like dough.
Poe like dough. So
Yeah.
Kelly, what are you using when you're
I'm using
coordinating?
Slack, but
Okay.
would love to use something else if it's more cost effective.
Okay. And then Mandy, what are you using?
So we use a little bit of Slack and a little bit of text messaging, but neither really work all that great for us. Stuff gets lost in Slack, and then I send texts to remind them. And so I would love one communication system. So I'm interested to see what maybe Google Chat would do for us, because we don't pay for Slack at this point. But eventually we'll probably need to get to that point. So if we can do what we're doing there in chat, I think that'd be a better direction for us.
Okay. For everybody who's not familiar with Slack or WhatsApp, what I like about Slack is it's a chat, it's an instant message system, but you can break it out into what they call channels. And so you can say, hey, this channel, we're only going to talk about our pipeline. We're only going to talk about who's the next listing coming, who's the next buyer coming, in pipeline issues. This channel, we're only going to talk about, team meetings or team trainings. This channel, we're only going to talk about this. And so you can define the lanes, and then you can go back and be like, okay, well, I know I had a task that I was supposed to do, or we talked about something that's supposed to be in the newsletters. I know I'm going to go to the newsletter channel and find the newsletter info, and not find the newsletter info in there over here in a discussion about why the database isn't working. So that's kind of the point of Slack. And with the channels in Slack, you can assign people who are in your Slack community to the channel. So the channel where we talk about newsletter content and who's executing the media and who's building the Google form and who's putting it and who's responsible for making scheduling, agents could care less about any of that. So they're not in that channel. They don't need to know what's going on there because then they'll not, I love them dearly. I love all of my agents very, very dearly. But if they were in that channel, they would come to us the Thursday before it was going to be sent, after it's already been ready to be sent, and want to change everything in it. So they're not in that channel. And so Slack is free up until a certain number of people in the community and or channels. And so at that point, then you start paying for that larger capacity. What we have found, because trying again, I'm in Missouri, my marketing coordinator is in Colorado, my transaction coordinator is in Florida, and my cyberbacker is in the Philippines. So we have to have one communication method. We cannot do this with emails and phone calls and text messages and stuff gets lost. So we have Google Chat, and Google Chat's equivalent to Slack. Slack is channels, chat is spaces. So we create a space in Google Chat because all of our team domain emails that every single person on our team is assigned is Google based. They have free access to Google Chat and Google Meet and Google, all of the Google things. And so we create spaces in there. So I have a newsletter space, I have a listing space, I have a database space. Each one of them has their own personal one-on-one communication. So if I need to talk about their shifts, or they're rendering their hours, or hey, don't forget that, hey, we're closed on Monday because it's a federal holiday, so I don't expect you to be on shift working on anything. But all of those spaces live in Google Chat. And what I absolutely love about it is how it integrates, because we are Google based, it integrates with our Google Drive. It integrates with our emails. And so when I'm like, hey, here's the newsletter, I want you to reference this Google form or this client event, I can link it to that Google Drive folder or that section or that file. It's searchable because it's Google. You can Google your Google Chat for keywords to figure out what chat that information was in. So we have started, when I assign things or we're talking about stuff, I'm like, this is February's newsletter. So then go search February's newsletter. It'll take them right back to the chat screen that was talking about February, or that was talking about March, or, hey, I know we talked about the pop buy, but I don't remember what we talked about. They search for the pop buy. It will pull up all of the threads that discuss that pop buy. I love the Google search feature of it. And then you can @ them. So you can tag them so that they get a notification that pops up on their Google email and on their Google Chat, on their little phone notification, because Google Chat's an app that you can put on your phone. And so it's streamlined a lot of our communication because it's all in one spot and it's all searchable and it all works that direction. And then what we discovered when we moved from Monday.com to tasks is I'll be typing things out in the Google Chat. I'm like, okay, I want this on the newsletter. We need to do this on the database. I was like, I just had a one-on-one 2 days ago with one of our agents where they had to outline their entire 6-month pipeline. So tell me about everybody. And then I went through and I'm like, okay, and I will literally chunk that down. I do a lot of copying and pasting. I'm like, this agent, this client, make sure they're in command, make sure they're on a follow-up, make sure they're on this timeline, and create them an opportunity so we can visually see the pipeline. And I'll drop it into the chat. And then there's a little 3 dots, little more dots. I'll click on the more dots, create a task, and it will put it into the Google Tasks. And it will put it, and then I can put the date that it's due, and I can put the person that it's assigned to do that task. And it shows up in their Google taskbar. It shows up on the right hand of their inbox. It shows up in the Google Chat, and the day that it's due, it will pop up and say, hey, did you do this task? Because you haven't completed it yet. And so I'm not having to go to a third software or out to yet another website and recreate it, because it's all within our Google environment. And Google Workspace, because we pay for Google Workspace, just launched Gemini, which is their AI. And the AI will synchronize our emails. The AI will summarize our Google Chats, and it will ask, hey, I see that you're creating this task. You've created a similar task. Do you want me to autofill it for you? So now I'm using AI to make my job faster. Yes, see why I love Google? I mean, Microsoft does some amazing things. I've been Microsoft since like 1994, but I love me some Google because Google makes it easy. So Yeah, GroupMe works the same way as Slack or Google Chat. I very much have, can I do it for free? Even if I have to kind of MacGyver or duct tape it together. If I can't do it for free, can I do it on something I'm already paying for before I will basically run the proposal on, is it worth the budget spend to get yet another software? And what I have found after testing all of these things and building all of these systems and working with our team is, for us personally, because I deal with a lot of high eyes who want to make sure everybody's having fun, everybody's having a good time, and a lot of ADHD and squirrels and can't stay focused. The more platforms or the more software I give them to work in, the more I have no idea what they're doing, and I cannot get them to get to the finish line. So if I can keep them literally in their Google Calendar, their Google email and command, they are 25% more effective, and we do 10 more deals a year because that's the only place they play in the playground at. That's the sandbox they're in. So. Any questions? You probably could do all of that with Microsoft, Elizabeth. We've always been, our domain has always been Google based. Our emails have always been Google based. And so rather than having to split the difference between Microsoft and send them out there and then figure out what that cost package was and try to integrate with Outlook and all of the Microsoft pieces, we just defaulted into the Google space because they have to go to Google to get their email. And so I just left them in that environment.
I have a question that may not be related.
Go for it.
But I currently am the DOO and the TC. Granted, we only have, I would say, 1.5 people on our team because one person doesn't do as much. Yeah. Is that wise? Or at what point do we go, yeah, we need to, I mean, we have plans of when to hire a TC, but I'm just curious your point of view when.
So I started as the TC. When I was hired 4 years ago, I came on as the TC. There was no system. So I was building the TC system. As I was building the TC system, I was realizing every agent does this differently. And that was chaotic to me. So I kind of put on a little bit of an admin hat to kind of get them all to standardize. And then it got to the point that we, at any given time, I had 18 to 24 contracts open in various stages because we do somewhere between 80 and 100 units a year. And at our heyday, we had 9 agents. And so when it got to the point where I was running that much transaction coordinator, I had no bandwidth to do anything else. And I always believed the transactions first and foremost. And so I went to my manager, I was like, okay, you can either have phenomenal transactions with very few bumps and seamless and streamlined and paid at the table and nothing else, or you can outsource that. Here's 3 companies I've researched, and then I can do this, and this for you. And that was the moment we were like, what makes more sense? What does it work? And what I found was what he was paying me in my time and what he was leaving on the table because I did not have time to do other things was way more than what he was what we pay our transaction coordinator now. They are definitely worth it. So if you can figure out how to, if you're adding them, they're technically an additional expense, but there are ways to offset that cost. So if you're no longer getting paid to be the TC, what are you doing instead that's bringing in business? What are you doing that's streamlining? Where is that spend being returned on investment? And then we charge an admin fee and it covers our transaction coordinator. So we don't, I think we pay our transaction coordinator like maybe on 4 transactions a year because the client doesn't want to pay it. But the client pays it. It's just part of our presentation now. They pay for it. Our state allows for that to happen. And so it's what's most important, what's going to keep you running, and then where does the budget spend make sense? And then ultimately, it was not something I wanted to do. I don't like transaction management. I like the overall concept of it. I like it to be smooth. I had fun building the system. But if that's what I do day in and day out and just check the same deadlines and same forms and same pieces, I would go insane because that's not what I like to do. So that's kind of my litmus test. It was the point of, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something else. And we can afford to pay somebody else. And the profound words that Tulio told me when I brought the proposal and was like, I recommend this company because I have vetted their systems, I've vetted their processes. I know that they'll take our templates and use them. His response was, it gives us a chance to bless somebody who needs the paycheck, who needs the job, who may need this to keep a roof over their head. And so it was a lot easier for him to make that switch because he was giving back to somebody who was also earning a living off of what our team is doing. And we use a third-party company, but she is literally part of the team. She's introduced as part of the team. Her backgrounds, her logos and everything like that look like our part of the team. So I love Tiffany to death. She's amazing.
I love making systems as well. That's kind of what I'm good at, is going into chaos and making it pretty, as I call it. So
We
Thank you.
literally had that conversation the other day. I want to build systems, create new things, find cheaper and more efficient ways to do it. If you stick me in middle management where I have to watch everybody and double check everybody's day-to-day work, I'm miserable. It's like, if you let me go do something and build something, which is why I'm doing this, because I was stuck in middle management last year because we had so many agents and we didn't scale very clearly. And I'm just like, I need a creative outlet. And creative outlets for me is talking about why I have a color-coded spreadsheet for that, because I have a color-coded spreadsheet for everything.
you do.
And
We may be
those of
related.
us who have known me for more than a year know that that is legitimate. Like, spreadsheets are my love language. If you need a spreadsheet, I've got one. If you don't need one, I'm more than likely designing one in my head as we're speaking. I will email it to you after the call. So
I think we may be
my
related.
YouTube channel, just because Reggie asked about transaction coordination, all 5 previous masterminds are on that YouTube channel. One of them is about transaction coordination and how we built the system and then we leveraged it out, and now it runs outside of but adjacent to our business. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out, and all of that is there. It's per transaction, so we outsource. They only get paid if the transaction closes, and then depending on I think ours is $350 if it's a full residential resale. And then we get a discount if it's a new build, a land deal, or if we double end it. And so we'll pay full price for one side, but then because it's very similar to paperwork, we'll pay a discounted rate if we're doing the other side. Basically, the less paperwork she has to do, then we get a discounted rate for it. But I found that was the going rate in our market, and it's actually a lot cheaper than a lot of other markets. I know some markets that pay $600-700 for transaction coordination, and that's insane. I'm assuming it's probably because there's a lot more paperwork and a lot more documentation and a lot more stuff that has to be coordinated. Ours, being a title state's a lot easier to deal in. It's kind of pretty straightforward.
What's your admin fee? What do you guys charge?
We charge $350 across the board.
Okay.
So, and then we pocket the extra as income if it's a lesser transaction. And we keep that overage in because, like I said, every now and then we'll have a client that doesn't want to pay it, and there's legitimate reasons for that, and we honor that, and then go from there. I will say the way our system is set up and the fact that they get paid through our disbursement authorization, they are treated like compensation. So when the admin fee comes in, it's treated like income, and then it's offset on the back end as a deduction or an expense. So it all balances on the P&L, but because our brokerage treats it through closing and the title transaction as income, it counts towards GCI. So yeah, we definitely leverage that to get across some thresholds and some lines and some awards. So don't overlook the small pennies, they add up. So, okay, we're a little bit over. I'm glad everybody stayed. Did we get any questions answered? Is there anything else I can just, you want to drop a few quick things? I go back through the chat and make sure everything gets answered. I do a resource. It's called the Big R email. If you've been with me long enough, you know you're going to get a Big R email by Monday of next week. It's the resources, the replay, and the recap. And then you can normally register for the next month, which is why it's the Big R email. But is there anything else that you want me to address, or any other resource that you need, or you can yell it at me, or you can drop it in the chat and I will make sure it gets handled. So, and yes, the Google Sites class will be on that. And you guys don't sleep on AI. I did last week I had to get real intentional about marketing for this and other stuff. And I hate marketing. Marketing is not where my brain lives. AI for the win. I'm like, I need 14 consecutive daily social media posts. I need 3 emails. I need you to write me a script for a promo video. And my AI right now is writing the course agenda and creating the worksheets for that Google Site course based on the information I fed it on what it is I want to teach. So don't sleep on AI helping you. You just have to look, you have to figure out how to talk to it. And then I'm super nice to mine. Like whenever it gives me something really cool, but that's awesome, great, thank you. And when it's like, yeah, let's try again. We didn't quite hit the mark. So I'm super nice to mine, but I ask it all the time. So
That's good.
I
'Cause they're gonna
have
take
a
over
free
the
chat
world one day.
GPT. So I have not actually bought or leveraged anything. Mine is just literally the free chat GPT. It works as well as it works because I've literally been putting my entire real estate life into it for the last 6 months. So it knows who I am, what I do, and normally what I'm asking for, and it knows how to talk like me. So it just took a little bit of work to get it that far. So, okay. I think that is everything. I appreciate, I use the website. Again, I'm hardcore Zennial. Certain things require big internet, and it's going to be on my laptop, which is actually, I have dual monitors because I cannot survive on just one screen. And then there's certain things that can be done on little internet, which is the phone. And 9 times out of 10, I do not do anything on little internet, but scroll social media and answer emails. And even then, answering emails on little internet is a little bit difficult. So anyway, I think that is everything. I appreciate everybody for being here. And then the big art email will also have Facebook. If you're not in the Supporting Productivity Facebook community, go join it. I share the same resources. I share the same replays, but it's also you'll get information on that Google site, workshops, things that are coming. And if you have a question, you can hit me up on the Facebook group. You can email me. You can text me. And every now and then, I've got a couple of extra 15 or 30-minute one-on-ones lying around when I've got some time in my schedule. If you need something tackled personally, one-on-one, reach out to me and we'll get you on my calendar and I'll help you. I live to help other people because it makes me feel good. It's like, yes, somebody else loves it just as much as I do, or at least lets me enjoy designing them some kind of spreadsheet or system for them to use. Just don't tell me if you don't use it.
Are you going to be at Elevate?
I am at Elevate. Yes, ma'am. I wouldn't miss it.
See you soon.
So I will see you in April.
Thank you, Jessica.
It's Supporting Productivity, Reggie. If you Google it on Facebook, or when the big art email comes out, it will be on the link to that will be on the email as well. And I appreciate it, Duke. I hope I didn't lose you. I know I talk fast and I get really super excited about it, but it's a lot to take in, but there's so much out there. Pick one thing and just start with that one thing. That's always my takeaway is start small. One bite of the elephant. And then when you master that, you can take the next bite of the elephant.
Duke, I'm putting you in my phone for Kansas City. Thank you for having your info on your picture.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've got your information down already too.
So
We can be lost together.
Bye,
Hey,
y'all.
you're here asking the questions. That's a great first step. Like, yeah. So you're
Have
not
a beautiful
calling
week.
me with like, why is the Wi-Fi down? That's my favorite. It's like I don't make the internet. I tell my kids all the time. It's like the internet's out of service today. So I've turned the Wi-Fi off because I got tired of them yelling at me. So it's a snow day here. So they're all home. Like my whole house is home right now. And I'm like, you must leave mommy alone. So, take it as it is. I will see all of you next month. I'm aiming for the same time, same week. So it's earlier in the month than it used to be, but I'll get that scheduled. And again, Calendly, another software, another program you can leverage. I do all my booking through Calendly. So I'll see you guys later. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.